Quick announcement before we dive in. The doors are finally open to Rise from Anxious to Secure Attachment. 12-week group program for women is now open. So if you are an anxious girly and you want to become a secure queen, this program is for you. Together, we are ditching the drama, stopping the sabotage, and managing our relationship anxiety so we can say hello to healthy, available partners and sustain and keep those happy, healthy relationships while feeling calm and confident and connected to ourselves. So if you are ready to embark on this healing journey with other like-minded women, go ahead and click that link in the show notes for more information and to sign up and secure your spot. We begin on July 22nd. All right, now back to the episode. Welcome to the Relationship Rehab Podcast. I'm Sammy, a certified breakup and relationship coach, attachment specialist, former love addict, and spiritual junkie. This podcast is for you, the hopeless romantic who loves to love, and a safe space for us to explore and heal our attachment trauma, broken hearts, and love addictions. Together, we are on a mission to become the love of our own lives so we can have successful, healthy, secure relationships with others. So if you're ready to create a life and love beyond your wildest desires, you're in the right place. Your journey towards becoming more secure in love and life starts now. Hello, my loves, and welcome back. And in today's episode, I'm going to go through 3 things that I use to heal my anxious attachment style. And this is the most common question I get asked on my socials is, how do I heal anxious attachment? How do I fix this? And how did I heal it specifically as well? What did I do in order to go from being an anxious mess to a secure queen? So I'm going to cover that today in this episode, but quick little update before we get into that. It is the beginning of July in Wales in the UK, and I am freaking freezing. It's so cold here. The temperature is cold, it's windy, and I know I'm in the mountains, but this is just ridiculous, really. I'm like, where is the summer? So maybe you can resonate if you're also in the UK, you're feeling the cold as well. I'm wrapped up in, I'm not even kidding you, I've got a jumper on, a hoodie, and then like a dressing gown draped over my shoulders. And my fluffy socks and booty slippers. Yeah, it's all happening. I'm just not one for the cold. I'm definitely a sun chaser. Even though I'm Welsh, I have never been adaptable to the cold. I just hate it. So, but I will be going to Spain next week and I'm looking forward to getting some sun there. All right, my loves, let's dive in. So these 3 things, I would almost call them modalities that I have found that have really helped me heal this insecure attachment style and become more secure in myself. And before I discovered these modalities, I would typically allow my anxiety to just get completely out of control. And I would do anything I could to make it stop. I didn't know how to be with it. I thought it was a really bad thing to feel because it felt so uncomfortable, and anything that I could do to get rid of it, I would do, whether that's drinking, numbing myself on Netflix, scrolling on social media, like chasing attention from others, trying to win my ex back in some way, or bombarding them with text messages until they respond. Like, I was such a reaction, and I was completely powerless to this anxiety, to these fears of abandonment and rejection and, feelings of worthlessness and not being enough as well, were just so present back then. And I would, the behavior that I would do, I would cause so much drama as well. And I would almost blame and shame others for them making me feel a certain way or for triggering me in any certain way. And it's because I just didn't know how to handle it. I really didn't know how to handle it. So, and I just felt so out of control, really out of control. And I remember this was very present in a relationship that I had for 2 years with a predominantly secure guy. And we got to the point where he kind of had enough of this because I was taking no responsibility for myself, and I was always blaming him for how I was feeling because I didn't know how to be with it. And the moment came where we did eventually break up, but a little bit before that, when I knew the relationship was falling apart and I didn't know what else to do, I was so powerless, and I just knew I needed to remove myself from the situation because I had done all that I could. I chased, I begged, I, tried to manipulate him back into loving me and being in a relationship with me, but I can tell that he was becoming more withdrawn, more distant, and I was just it was not helping me at all and my mental health. So I remember I took myself off to a retreat in Koh Phangan in Thailand. And it was during this time where I learned the first modality that really helped me get on my way, on my journey to healing anxious attachment. And at this point as well, it's good to note that I knew what it was. I knew I had this attachment style. I just didn't know what to do with it. I thought it was one of those things I was just going to have to live with, like it's my Enneagram. Oh, it's my personality type. Oh, it's my attachment style. It's nothing that I could change. So I was almost trying to hide it as well. So I was trying to hide it and not talk about it with other people, that this was what I was dealing with, because I was feeling so ashamed of the behaviors that were manifesting from this attachment style, and also just didn't fully understand what was going on myself, so couldn't articulate it in a conversation. So it was during this retreat, and I remember like this such internal chaos and wanting to run away, but having nowhere to run to. There was this kind of flight sensation of I just run away from these really uncomfortable emotions. And I think that's why I just got myself on a bus and got myself to this retreat, because I thought maybe if I just get to this retreat, everything's going to be better. But in fact, they gave me this statement of you have to feel to heal. You can't talk yourself out of anxiety. And this is what I say now all the time. We can hide from anxiety. We can push it down, further down into our bodies. And we may feel better on a short period of time, but it will manifest itself back into our current reality if we don't deal with it, if we don't feel it. And I remember them challenging me to feel. And I lay down and I put one hand on my stomach and one hand on my heart, and I felt it. I felt these insanely painful feelings, just like lightning bolts all around my body, just shooting pains of nausea, of tightness. Like the sickness was unreal, and my body started to shake. I started to cry. And they were like, this is good. You're releasing the emotion. And they encouraged me to move my body gently as well, just to keep the emotion moving through. And I remember thinking to myself, why the hell would anybody want to sit here and feel all these terrible things? Like, oh, you just want to press a button and make it all stop. But then what I started to notice is that the sensations started to calm. And with the releasing of the tears and the shaking and the gentle movements of my body, with some gentle reassurance from the guide that was supporting me through this as well, I was able to really feel like I was feeling the sensations calming themselves down within my body. And it was such a crazy moment for me where I'm like, like I'm actually starting to feel a lot more calmer. And lo and behold, what was happening was that this practitioner was taking me through a somatic practice. She was supporting me to feel. And that's what somatics is. This is my first thing that I do now. I still do every day, and I teach my clients now, is the first modality of healing your anxious attachment style is somatic work. And somatics basically mean, well, soma means body. It means body work. It means using that mind-body connection to help you connect with your internal self, with your inner world, with those feelings and the sensations, so you can make sense of your experiences and what's happening for you, rather than running away from yourself when in fact you need yourself in that moment more than any other time. So it's about really listening to those signals and sensations from your body that's telling you something. They're flooding your body with these chemicals to create these sensations in order to move them through. Otherwise, they will get stuck. And the way the somatic practices work is to allow you that access to information about the way that you hold on to your experiences in the body. So at this moment, like, I knew that the relationship was broken. I was going through a breakup. Like, I had lost this person that I thought was going to be my husband, my baby daddy, my everything. He was my everything. I didn't know how to be without him. And on top of that, I also had to sit with a lot of feelings of shame and guilt and regret, because I knew that I had caused it. Even though he wasn't perfect, he wasn't an angel, he had his things, but I still had to sit with the fact that a lot of my behavior was the result of the outcome that I was now experiencing, which was the breakup. There was a lot going on in my body, and the default thing that I would have done was pushed it all down and done anything to make myself feel better. But now I had found this new way, this way to feel, to really feel everything through my body and move my body and connect with myself as well, because I didn't know how to be with myself. I was looking externally for everything that I needed in other people, and I didn't even know at that moment that I could have accessed all those things within myself. So after this practice, and I was at this retreat for about 10 days, and 10 days all I did was like somatic movements, yoga, meditation, relaxation, and I felt on top of the world coming out of that retreat. I really did. And I couldn't believe that I was going through a breakup, because at this point we were breaking up. And I felt so calm. I felt so calm within myself, and it was almost like this feeling of coming home to myself. I could really feel every part of my body. And that's what somatics does as well. It's not about, a lot of people think it's about fixing anxiety or getting rid of it. And when we use these harsh words, we're being led with that energy of this is a bad thing and we need to dispel it, completely from our body, when really we just need to change our relationship with anxiety, because we need anxiety. Anxiety is there to keep us safe. It's there to send us these messages that something is not quite right. And instead of us being a complete reaction, an emotional trigger to it, we can sit with it, we can understand it, we can feel it, and then we can know how to proceed from that point. So it was able to really give me an insight into what had been going on those last 2 years. And I honestly, now looking back, think it was the best thing that could have ever happened for me, because sometimes we need to get to that, the bottom of the barrel, like our lowest point in our life, in order to make some real vast changes. And it is sad that that happens, but it just does. If only we could really tap into that real desire to make transformational changes to our lives without getting to that point, would be great. And we can, but more often than not, we do need to get to that space. So that is the first thing that I highly recommend and do with all my clients, is somatic practices. Like, because at the end of the day, if you are going to go ahead and, make mindset shifts or tap into belief reprogramming or set those boundaries or resolve conflict, communicate better, if you're doing all that stuff from an activated nervous system, then you're leading with fear. You're leading with anxiety. You're leading with a specific outcome, maybe, as to what you're wanting, and that's why you're applying those strategies. Whereas when you're able to really tap into somatic work, calm that nervous system, be able to regulate the anxiety, you can think more clearly. You can process. You can be more of a response rather than a reaction to what's happening. So we can cultivate a lot more calm and peace and clarity before we go ahead and handle the trigger or deal with the thing or talk to the person. Because what's happening in the body when we are triggered, when we are activated, when our anxious attachment system is activated, we are flooded with a chemical called cortisol. And this is what's making us want to fight or flee, basically. Or fawn, that is also another trauma response to an activated attachment system, is we want to please, we want to beg, we want to chase, whatever that looks like. Whereas if we can just take that moment to be with ourselves and be with the emotions and the sensations that are soaring through our body, we can handle it. If we can sit with it, then we can calm it, and then we can go ahead and proceed and turn all those logical areas of our brain back online. Because when we're feeling like we're under threat, all the other different areas of our brain, including our memory, including our logical side, including our digestive system, everything gets shut down. Everything gets shut down because we are in survival mode. So getting yourself out of that survival mode first and foremost before anything else is so crucial before you go ahead and apply any strategies or tactics or tricks or whatever you feel like you need to do in order to resolve the issue that is occurring right now that's triggering you. So that's why I always say dealing with the anxiety through somatic work is number one. All right, so the second one that I came across when it comes to healing my anxious attachment style is subconscious reprogramming methods. Now, this came into my life when I started to date again. So at this point, I'm feeling, of course, still get triggered. I'm still sad. I'm still upset. I'm still, navigating a breakup. I'm not saying that I, became the Buddha overnight, but I was in a much better place because I had tools, I had practices in place for me to really be with myself and my nervous system. So at this point, I'm feeling pretty regulated. I'm managing triggers. I'm moving on with my life. I start to date again. I'm like, all right, it's been a while. It's been a few months. Let me just start to date again. I don't know if I'm ready or not, but I'm getting curious. And when I started to date again, I started to meet new people. I started to open myself up to the idea of just making new connections, and eventually started something with someone. Nothing too serious, but still it was, connection. It was daily chats, etc., etc. I noticed a bit of a shift in myself because at this point I was feeling myself again. I was feeling confident, outgoing, social, present, all these things because, I had my career, I had my friendship circle, I had my fitness, I had my, finances up to scratch. Everything was going great. But then I started dating and I'm like, what happens to me? I kind of all goes out the window. And it's like everything is up here, and then my love life and dating is like right down the bottom. And it just doesn't quite, it's not on par with every other area of my life. And I noticed this shift in myself, that I went from someone who forgot her worth. She forgot how to be her confident self. All of a sudden, she felt not enough for this person. She felt small. She didn't feel like she was equal to this now person that she's dating, who she's putting on a pedestal, and she's down here trying to please and be all the things for this person. And I was noticing this behavior in myself. I was feeling anxious when they were not texting back and thinking that they were going to leave me. I was feeling not enough for them when we were on our dates and constantly feeling a bit insecure about the way I was looking. I tried not to smile too much so my eyes didn't wrinkle. It was just like all these things I was so now aware of in myself. Pleasing behaviors as well. I would do whatever he wanted to do. I would hide certain parts of myself that I thought might throw him off a little bit. And I was just being inauthentic, basically. And then I was starting to notice this almost like this neediness. All of a sudden, I forgot how to meet my own needs. And now I look to him to do all of that for me, to give me all the comfort, to give me all the love, to give me all the reassurance, to give me all the support, to give me all the safety. It's like I completely forgot how to do that for myself. So I'm like, okay, obviously I'm not as healed as I thought. Like somatics is one modality, which is an amazing modality, but I'm noticing something's missing. And so I got curious. I started to understand some of the thoughts that I was having into to kind of trigger me into this space of not feeling enough or not feeling worthy. And then I was just talking to a friend, and she was observing this stuff in me as well. And she was somewhat of a new friend. She knew me just as single Sammy. And then she's like, "What's happened to you?" It's like it's like you're a different person. It's like you're constantly checking your phone, you're constantly twitching, you're constantly talking down to yourself, and you're like, this guy is not, it's almost like he's Brad Pitt or something. What's going on? So we started having this conversation, and well, as a result, she just said to me, it you sounds like when you get into relationship, you just completely lose yourself. You have no sense of self at all, and you almost immerse yourself into this person, and that your secure being that you feel when you're single, it's almost like you walk out of that and you walk into a more of an anxious state, with your, even though you were regulating your nervous system, the thoughts that were coming through are coming from your belief system. And I was like, what are you talking about? Belief system. So she introduced me to this concept of pre-reprogramming, like the fact that we all have our own unique programming, and a lot of people call this like our handbook, our programming, our conditioning, our system, our belief system, what we believe to be true about ourselves, others, and the world. And this is formulated during childhood. This is formulated through conditioning and our experiences as well. And it is, yeah, it's a result of maybe emotional neglect or not having our needs met in some way, that now we have formulated beliefs about ourselves that maybe we're not worthy of having them met. Maybe we're not good enough to have them met. We're not good enough for this healthy, secure love. So instead, we're going to chase something that feels more familiar, which is emotional unavailability, which is breadcrumbing, which is the bare minimum. Because we don't know how to be with anything other than what feels familiar. And this was blowing my mind. I'm already a psychology geek. So already I'm diving into all the courses, all the books, all the mindset stuff. I'm like, whoa. And upon this journey, I found out about myself that I have two core wounds, and these are the wounds of unworthiness and the wounds of abandonment. And I was starting to put the pieces together that the beliefs that I held about myself, which is I'm not worthy, I'm not good enough, I'm not valuable, were coming from these core wounds that have been programmed from childhood within me. And then those beliefs were influencing the way that I was thinking when I was in my relationships. Like, is he going to leave me? He's not texting back. This means he must be ghosting me, or he's found someone else. Oh, I'm not worthy of all this love that he's trying to give me. And it's making me feel a bit uncomfortable. And again, it just made me reflect back onto that 2-year relationship I was just telling you about, and all the sabotaging that I would do during that, where he was trying to love me. It's the thing that I wanted the most. He was really trying to give it to me, and I'm like, what is this on a subconscious level, right? I'm like, well, I can't let this get too boring. I need to create some drama. I need to, feel those highs and lows on a subconscious level. Of course, on a conscious level, I'd be thinking to myself, what am I doing? Why am I making a big deal out of this? Or why am I causing a fight? Or why am I behaving like a little child right now? And it is because it is the way that our subconscious programming has connected the dots to what feels familiar, what feels like love based off of our childhood experiences. So I could talk all day about this, but at the end of the day, we attract what feels familiar. And again, it goes back to that Freudian theory, right? When he says that we attract people that are like our parents. And it is because it's so much on a subconscious level. And I was attracting men that validated these beliefs about myself. And we're always doing that. We're always looking to affirm the beliefs that we hold about ourselves. So if we believe that we're not enough and we're attracting things that confirm that belief about ourselves, it's like this ongoing cycle. Whereas if we do believe that we're enough, we are more than enough to receive all the money, all the love, all the things, all the peace, all the joy in the world, that is what we're going to attract. And it goes back to that law of attraction, right? So I really had to think, how can I completely rewire and reprogram my belief system? And this is a huge modality that I now use in my coaching programs, because we're bringing in the somatics to help calm the nervous system, that's with the body. And now we're working with the mind in order to recondition the belief system. And the analogy that I use a lot of the time as well is a bit like looking out of a car window. And when you have a somewhat mucky belief system about the world, that everyone's out to get you, or that all men are assholes and you're not worthy of love, like all these different stories and narratives and beliefs that formulate your programming, it's a little mucky, it's a little dirty. You can't see past it. You can't see clearly. You can't see your truth. You can't see your inner deep truth because of this conditioning. So what we do is clean it. We cleanse these beliefs and these stories and these narratives. We completely cleanse them from your system so you can tap back into that secure self. You can tap back into your truth, your higher self, what a lot of people call it as well. So it's super powerful and it completely changed the game for me. Once I really dived into this work, I was dating from a place of feeling so worthy that I became so not attracted to emotional unavailability. I was shocked. I would have these experiences with men, and they would be maybe a bit inconsistent with their messaging, or I could just tell that they were playing games with me, or they would be breadcrumbing me. And I'm just observing all of this, being like, this is interesting. I'm not about it. This is not what I'm choosing. Therefore, I'm leaving this connection. And it was very bump, 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 just like that. Whereas the old me would be chasing that person because I'm wanting to be chosen by them. I would be delighting in the fact that they are giving me attention after like 2 days of no contact. And I would just be pleasing. I would just be pleasing them and doing whatever they wanted. Whereas now I'm making the choice for myself and I've got my own back. And it was just the most incredible feeling to feel worthy, because for so long I had not felt worthy. And I noticed this in my life in different ways. In all areas of life, that I really struggled to accept compliments, and I really struggled to accept gifts unless there was some sort of an exchange. I struggled to accept help and receive anything, because I didn't know how to give it to myself, and it didn't feel safe on a subconscious level. So they are the first two modalities that I used to heal my anxious attachment style. And the third one, and it's definitely not last but not least, if not the most important one, was my spirituality. So they're like the 3 S's: somatics, subconscious reprogramming, and my spirituality. If I didn't have my spirituality, I don't know if I could have really gotten myself to the place where I'm at now, because it really was like, let's say somatics and subconscious reprogramming is the cake. Spirituality is the icing. It's the best part. It's what holds the cake together. And that's how I see it. And I have always grown up in a Christian household and always believed in God. He's always been in my life, even in the moments that I moved away from him. I've always felt him. So for me, I don't know a life without God, and grew up in a Christian household. But as I became an adult, I started to formulate my own beliefs about God and spirituality. So for me personally, I see God and the church as very different entities. And I'm not going to go too much into it now. Maybe I'll make an episode talking about my own spiritual beliefs. But for me, I believe that spirituality is a very personal journey, and everybody has their own ideas and perceptions and relationship with God as well. And it doesn't necessarily have to follow the way that the church says that you have to do it. So, and I believe everybody, has different names for God as well. They call it the universe, they call it the higher self, they call it spirit, they call it the cosmos, whatever. But it is all energy, and it is all around us. And that is God, and God was within us as well. And maybe a few things that I'm saying, everyone's like, blasphemy. But this is my personal belief. So when I went through that breakup, I had to make sense of it, because it was my second big breakup, and in the first one, I struggled to feel so much that I would just go back to my ex, and it was just almost like this daily. It was almost like this pattern. But at this point, like, this ex chose to break up with me, and I kind of had to deal with it and accept it. And so I started to combine the somatic work that I was doing with coming back to God, coming back to my spirituality, because I needed to make sense of it. I needed help. I was feeling so broken, so worthless, so unloved, so discarded. And even though my ex did his best, he really did, to support me, I still lived with his family, and he moved out. So, because he knew that I needed the support, he would do anything that he could to help me without compromising his own decision. But I needed to come back to that faith that there was something higher than myself that is at work, that this is all going to make sense one day, because right now it is so painful that I don't see a way out, and I don't see why all this is happening. But I really had to rebuild that faith in my own experiences, that it is all happening for my highest good, even if I didn't believe it in the moment. It was almost like I was clinging onto this anchor, because I knew that it was the truth, and I just needed some time to get there. So I did. I leaned in heavily into spiritual practices, into prayer, into talking to God, into building a relationship with God. And I really started to feel him by my side during that time as well. And as we went into COVID, and I was pretty isolated, I was living in my own condo at this point in Bangkok. And most days I would just sit talking to God, and he would guide me so deeply. And because I was so open to it at that point, I was so attentive to the signs and the signals and the guidance, because they're soft. Like, he would never impose himself on us unless we really asked for it. And I was asking for it throughout my journey, not just at that moment. Throughout my journey, I'm like, God, I need you to, need you to guide me heavily during this, situation with this guy. Like, I don't know what to do. Do I stay with him? Do I leave? Blah, blah, blah. And he would intervene in a way that this guy would just ghost me. And I would really have to be like, I asked for this, and now I have to be grateful for it. So he would never impose himself on us, because he gives us free will. And this is why it's like, well, if God existed, then why doesn't he intervene as much as he should? And that's our idea of how much he should intervene, right? But at the end of the day, we are co-creators of our lives, of our world, and he's observing, and he's going to be there when, shit hits the fan. But we're always being guided. And that's another core modality of all the work that I do. I bring in these spiritual practices of being able to tap into that intuition, because that's how he talks to us. That's how our soul, because we are God, we are his children, we are him. So he's within us through the soul, and our soul talks to us through our intuition. So how can we quieten the fear? How can we quieten the external worries and fears and anxieties, so we can come back to our own self peace, our intuition, and our inner world? And when I really started to be guided in such a beautiful way, there was such this certainty that I wasn't alone. There was such this certainty that I don't need to worry. I don't need to worry about anything, because he's with me all the time, and I can ask him and pray for anything. and he will deliver. Ask and you shall receive. Seek and you shall find. It is when we don't invite him into our process that we feel alone in our process. And we feel so disconnected to ourselves because we're not listening. We're not listening to those nudges, those subtle nudges. And I know you know they're there. We always feel it in our gut. I knew this would happen. I had a feeling that he was going to do this to me. But we don't listen. Instead, we're too concerned about being chosen. We're too concerned about keeping them in our lives. We're too concerned with not being portrayed in a certain way or making a mistake that we don't listen. So it's about coming back to that, having that relationship with our soul, with God, and inviting him into the process as well. And for me, spirituality not only means these Christian ideas, but also Buddhism as well, because I've been living in Thailand for nearly 10 years and have been very exposed to the Buddhist way of living. So for me, it's a combination of it all. And I love the way that the Buddhists lead their life. I've stayed in monasteries to learn from them and to attend meditation retreats. And they are all about living in the present moment and being and they are very much in the belief that we are one. Like, so that's why we should always be kind to one another, because if you are going to do bad to someone else, it's going to come back around to you. The idea of karma, right? Because it all comes back down around to you. So treat others how you want to be treated. And I love the way that they approach life in this way. And the one particular Buddhist theory, I guess is what you would call it, is the art of detachment. And they very much believe that everything is not yours to keep. There's the law of impermanence. Everything will one day die or go away. So it doesn't make sense to attach to things, to material things, to people, to ways of being, to ways of thinking, because there's always change. Everything is changing all the time. And when we attach ourselves too much to people, to things, and we lose them, we cause suffering. And they very much believe, and Christian ways of belief as well, believe that life is suffering. And we have to deal with that suffering. But we can alleviate suffering by alleviating attachment. So I was really fascinated by the idea of detachment and started to practice this a lot in my life as well. And it led me to lead a very minimal life, not so much material things, but it also led me to really be in the moment of what's happening and not want to be so much into the future, not wish my life away. Because one, you don't even know if that's going to happen. Like, who are we to predict that that's what's going to happen in our future? So when we're thinking, oh my God, I'm going to be alone forever, who are we to decide that? We can decide that, but it's up to us if we want to believe it to be true or not. So know that, yes, on one hand, you do create your future, but on the other hand as well, we don't know what's going to happen in the future. So how about we release the idea that, you know, that we can predict our future. I'm not saying, but let's release the outcome. Let's release the worries, and let's be more present in what era, you know, whether we're single, whether we're in the relationship, whether we're dating. How can we be more in our present moment and fill that with lots of love and joy and calmness and peace? So I can talk a little bit more about detachment in another episode, but for now, they are the three modalities that really is my work, is the coaching that I take people through, is somatic, subconscious reprogramming, and spirituality. And by weaving all these three modalities into my own personal journey and into my work, I have seen myself and my clients really start to trust themselves again, really start to enjoy single life again, start to enjoy dating, be excited of the concept of dating. We're going to stop being attracted to emotional unavailability. Like I said, it actually repels me now. And we we start being more attracted to secure partners. No more are they seen as these boring, nice guys or gals, but they are individuals that align with our values and our vision and what's important to us now that we have become more secure in ourselves. We can stay calm in difficult conversations and be able to navigate them with a sense of curiosity and compassion as opposed to fear and defensiveness. Work through conflict is not so much of a scary thing anymore. In fact, it's something that can connect us deeper. We're able to express ourselves, find our voices, speak up for what we want and desire, speak up for our boundaries, because we are now prioritizing our peace and joy. We're no longer being a part of the drama within ourselves or within external things as well. And we're able to manage our triggers, like I said, calm that nervous system down and love ourselves so deeply, and not just the good parts, all of the parts, the wounded inner child, the angry teenager, what other parts that are within us, we can embrace them, we can accept them, we can work with them, we can integrate them into our sense of being that makes us our whole self. And we're worthy and able to attract healthy and loving partners that complement our lives and not complete them. And we're able to let them go if that's the journey, if that's what's going to happen. We can have these people in our lives and they give us so much and they leave their mark, and then they leave us better beings when they leave if they leave our lives. Or maybe they don't, and we start to create this beautiful relationship with this person and get to live our lives with this person. So yes, all that is 100% possible when you make that decision to heal your attachment style, and you make that decision that you are no longer accepting these patterns. I'm no longer accepting bare minimum, emotional unavailability. I am ready to develop that relationship with myself, because I know that it starts with me. It starts with developing and cultivating that love and peace within myself first, before I go out there and look for it in others, or in the concept of a relationship or career or money or whatever else it is that we go out to look for those needs and desires. So yeah, that is the journey. And I've also weaved these 3 modalities into my group program, Rise. And Rise is from anxious to secure attachment. It's a 12-week group program for women who resonate with my story today in this episode, that you find yourself not being able to regulate that anxiety. You find yourself battling with those beliefs that you're not enough and you're not worthy and you're not valuable, and you're attracting the type of partners that validate those beliefs, and you don't know if there's any different out there really, because maybe a nice guy or gal comes along and you're like, I don't feel it. I need excitement. I need the drama. You're done with the highs and the lows, and you're ready for the safe and the secure, because you're a confident woman, and you do recognize that you lose parts of yourself when you fall into relationships. And maybe this is making you a little bit avoidant, because you actually like yourself when you're not in relationships. And maybe you think, well, if that's what's going to take, then is just me hanging out on my own. Well, it doesn't. It absolutely doesn't. We can have it all. We can have it all. And this is my invitation to you, beautiful ladies, my beautiful souls. If you are looking for a healing program to heal your anxious attachment style and become more secure in yourself, alongside other sisters that are going on this journey with you, to support each other, to cheer ourselves on, to do the work together, then I would love to invite you to explore the group program Rise. The link for more information and to sign up and secure your spot is in the show notes. We are going to start this month in July. We're going to start around the 22nd. And if you're unsure about whether this program is for you, there is a button on the link to book in a free call as well, so we can chat about it over a cup of tea and fill you in on anything you want to know about the program. But yeah, let's be in this hot girl summer, hot healing girl into secure summer. together. And if you're listening to this outside of the month of July, then the wait list will be there for you to sign up for the next round. So I will leave it there, my loves. I hope that this journey has been really helpful for you in knowing how I've gotten myself from A to B, so you can get yourself from A to C, I should say. Anxious to secure. We got this, my loves. We have got this. And I'm sending you off with so much love. And if you really enjoyed this episode, I would love to know about it. You can get in touch with me on Instagram and share this with someone who may really benefit as well. All right. Until next time, my loves. Thank you so much for joining me on the Relationship Rehab podcast. I hope that this episode has supported you in healing, growing, and evolving out of insecure attachment and unhealthy relationship patterns and into safe, authentic love with yourself and others. If you enjoyed the episode, it would mean the absolute world to me if you would just take a second to rate and review this podcast. Every rating and review from you guys counts, as it really helps this podcast to grow so it can reach more people who need to hear this content. And don't forget to connect with me on social media. Take a screenshot of this podcast episode, share it on your IG stories, and tag me at the.relationship.rehab with your biggest takeaway from the episode. I really do love reading them. See you back here next week for another episode on the Relationship Rehab podcast.